What's up, everyone? Happy almost New Year. 2021 habitat season is right around the corner with the Michigan deer season here ending, and I'm sure a lot of deer seasons across the country ending. So before we dive into habitat season, I just wanted to do a quick video for you guys and basically outline, did my 2020 habitat improvement projects and my plan actually work? If you haven't already watched those videos, I would ask that you please do so maybe before watching this video, because I think things will make a lot more sense. And if you have watched my videos from 2020, thank you. I hope you're looking forward to this update. And please, before we start, I hope I've said this before. I think I have. I am by no means a habitat improvement expert at all. I'm the guy that absorbs as much information I can from the experts and has applied it to my property kind of all in 2020. So without further ado, I wanted to, I guess, talk to you guys really quick about, if you want to call it, the history of my property. So I have 21 acres here in Southwest Michigan. Before I had 21 acres, when I first bought my house in 2014, I actually only had 6 acres. And you guys can see that 6-acre block here in the red. And then in 2016 is when I bought the extra 15 acres that were these 2 vacant parcels right here. So my first deer season in 2014 was actually awesome. I only had one blind set up. I had a pop-up blind right at the edge of my flooded timber. I just kind of noticed from trail cam pictures through the summer that deer never walked through it. So I put a pop-up blind right on the edge of it, knew I could hunt it on a west wind. And that's what I did. And I hunted it a lot. And I actually had a lot of success. I saw quite a few deer. And then I shot this buck on November 5th of 2014. It was a buck I had on camera all summer. At the time, it was my biggest Michigan buck. Still to this day, it is my biggest body weight deer. That deer dressed at 195 pounds. And I was ecstatic. I thought I had just a little 6-acre honey hole. And I was just super pumped to have that success my first deer season on my own property. 2015, I shot a doe in the early season, and then I actually missed a buck. I think it was November 1st or 2nd of a similar caliber to this deer. But again, saw quite a few deer. I would consider it a successful season. And then after I bought that extra 15 acres is when things honestly kind of went downhill for me. I sucked from 2016 to 2019. I put a food plot in it was either 16 or 17. And then I kind of started dabbling in some of the habitat improvement stuff, 2018, more so in 2019. But honestly, I just did not have success at all. I didn't see many deer. I didn't hold many deer. I didn't even really hold that many does on my property. And I did have opportunities to kill does on multiple hunts from 2016 to 2019. I just didn't have very many, and I didn't really feel like I should, because I kind of felt that was my only opportunity at a buck during the rut. And if I killed them, I would probably have none. So 2020 was really kind of a turning point or a fork in the road for me. I was frustrated. I was kind of feeling defeated. I didn't know if I should go with kind of an option one of forget all this habitat stuff, stop wasting time, stop wasting money back here behind your house, and just use this property as, if you want to call it, like your burner property or your burner stands. Just hunt the crap out of it. Hunt when you want. It's right out your back door. Hopefully you can get lucky, see a few more does one year and shoot one. If you hunt just a ton, hopefully you're out there when that one buck seemingly just kind of cruises through that one time and you get lucky. That was an option that I considered. The other option, option 2, was really just invest in what the heck am I doing wrong? From a habitat standpoint, from a hunting standpoint, from a checking trail cameras, stand locations, everything, just kind of like blank slate, start over and really evaluate why I'm messing up. Because my neighbors, especially my neighbor Kitty Corner across the street, he kills great bucks every year. So I know they're here. I know my property has the ingredients to be good, but I was clearly doing something wrong. So I went with option two, obviously, having done all these habitat improvement videos. And really my expectations for 2020 were fairly simple. I wanted to hold more does because I really wanted to have the ability to just shoot a couple to fill my freezer. And I didn't feel like I had that for 4 or 5 years. And then I just wanted to either see or just get trail cam pictures of some of these better bucks. I knew they were around. Even if I didn't kill one, I just wanted to know that they were there, and I just wanted to see an improvement of bucks using my property. That really was it. That would be success for 2020. So what actually happened in 2020 was awesome in my book. And granted, the bar was set pretty low from the past 4 or 5 years and with my expectations. But to me and my property, it was an overwhelming success. So I got the most total buck pictures ever, bar none. I got the most daylight buck pictures, and that's just bucks in general. That's little bucks and bucks that I would consider shooter bucks. But I also got the most shooter buck pictures, and a shooter to me, at least right now, is still a 2.5-year-old 8-point or bigger. And I also got the most daylight shooter buck pictures. I think I got more daylight pictures of these shooter bucks this year than I have ever in the previous 6 years of my property during the hunting season. So big improvement. And to many of you, what I'll tell you, it was 8 in-season pictures on the 3 cameras that I checked. That is more than the previous 6 years. I got the most food plot buck pictures. I guess I've had my food plot, let's say 4 or 5 years. I think I've gotten 2 daylight in season shooter buck pictures in those 5 years. A lot of the pictures that I'm going to show you guys here in a minute are in my food plot in daylight. Tons of night photos too. Just a lot better food plot usage from both bucks and does. I held does the entire season. I held the most does I ever have the entire season, from, honest to God, August 1st to right now even. There's quite a few does. 3 family groups for sure that I held throughout the season. And then here in the late season, I've actually picked some more up. So just great for me to hold a lot more deer, a lot more does than I have in the past. And kind of going with that late season stuff, number 7, I've definitely had the most late season deer in general and the most late season bucks that I ever have. Typically after gun season here in Michigan, which is November 15th, I see almost nothing. And that's nighttime photos, daytime photos included, literally next to nothing. This year, I've kept a lot of deer. All those does have stayed. Like I said, more have piled in. There's a lot of little bucks, nighttime and daylight photos. And I've actually still got one really nice buck that's back there, and he's shown his face a couple times in daylight. Number 9, I killed 2 deer off my property. So I killed the same amount of deer this year that I did the previous 6 years. I shot a buck and I shot a doe, and I've got an asterisk by that because the buck was technically on my neighbor's property. He lives just a couple houses down. I had permission to hunt his 10 acres, which is just a couple parcels off of mine. So it's my same block of woods. I killed that deer probably, I don't know, 400 yards from my property line. So I consider it my property, but hence the asterisk. And then I shot a doe, and I actually shot that doe off of my food plot on December 13th. That's what ended my season. And that was the first deer that I have killed off of my food plot. So to me, these 10 things, just a big improvement. I don't know if you guys watched my videos from earlier in the year, but that buck, that's him right there. I shot him on October 1st. That was my first bow opener buck that I've ever killed. So I guess you can make that number 11, but just a solid 2.5-year-old, kind of exactly what I'm looking for. He was 160 or 165 pounds dressed, like 14 or 14 and a half inches wide. I can't exactly remember, but quality buck, exactly what I was looking for. My doe too was actually the biggest doe that I've ever shot. She was 130 pounds field dressed. Let's see if I can pull that picture over here. There you go. Shot her on December 13th, which was the last day of muzzleloader. I know if you're looking at this picture, probably thinking that right there, not a muzzleloader, and you're correct. Zone 3 in Michigan this year, you could use a regular firearm if you chose to do so during muzzleloading season. So took my 44 mag out. I shot her from 10 yards out of my box blind in my food plot. She barely made it to the edge of the food plot. So just two awesome hunts right there, basically in my backyard. So what I wanted to show you guys here really quick, I'm just going to kind of scroll through these just to not take up too much time, but here's some of the bucks that I had on camera. This isn't all of them. This is what I guess you could call my shooter buck folder, with the exception of there's one 6-point in here that I wasn't going to shoot, but he was by far my best 1.5 old. The other 1.5 old bucks I didn't put in this folder, but they're quite a few of your stereotypical spikes, small 4-point, small 6 points. But I'll scroll through here. I missed this buck by a day. I hunted on the 28th from that stand. That's that 6-point right there that I was telling you guys about. Probably my best up and coming 1.5 old. Here's 9-point. I sat that stand that morning. Had a birthday party to go to that evening, so I missed out on him. Different 9-point. Here's another 9-point, mainframe 8 with a split brow. He was there, I was there on the 10th, and I hunted till, I can't remember, noon, 1 o'clock. So again, just barely missed out on him. This is that first picture, that 9-point that you guys saw on October 27th. This is him. This is when he first kind of came into my property. I don't know which buck this is. I'm guessing it's one of the two 9-points that you've already seen. They seem to be my two, I don't know if you want to call them resident bucks, but they were definitely the ones that I got the most pictures of. So it's likely one of those two. Again, another buck in my food plot on the 1st. This is right at the start of shooting light. Same 9-point again. This is that same night on the 7th. He walked through my food plot. And I've got another picture of him here on the 8th. It's him again on the 8th in the morning. That's probably the best picture of him, so you can kind of see shooter buck in my category. Really excited to see what he turns into next year, because this is the buck that is still behind my house and that I know right now is still alive. So I'm super pumped to see if he sticks around, what he turns into. This is probably the biggest in hunting season buck picture that I've gotten. I don't exactly know what this deer is. I think it's probably a 9 or 10. It's kind of hard to tell with his antlers next to my plot screen here, but only picture I've gotten of that buck, but that was the biggest one in season that I got pictures of. This one really surprised me. This is that same 9-point that I said is still alive. He actually came into my food plot during shooting light. It's actually 5:29, following a doe on the 5th day of gun season. I would have never in a million years hunted this day, because that's normally absolute garbage hunting. But he was still back there, and there must have been one more doe that came into heat, and he walked right out. Here's another buck. I don't know exactly which one this is. It could be one of those same two, or that same 9-point you've been seeing a lot. If not, it could be a different one, but this is 15 yards in front of my food plot on the 2nd. That same 9-point that we keep talking about, there he is right in front of my box blind on the 8th. He's chasing a doe over here. So there you go. I mean, that is hands down the best and most pictures I've gotten of deer of that caliber. So super, super pumped to see all of those. I wanted to give you guys kind of my top 3, and we'll start with the number 1. I think hands down was pressure. I think I did a really good job with where I put my stand locations to make sure that my access was basically walking through water all the time. So I have flooded timber on my property, which you guys have seen, hopefully from my other videos. I basically made it a point to every stand that I'm going to walk through as much water as possible. And that can be kind of tricky doing it quietly, but I think it helped out a ton, because pretty much all of my stands were, right at the edge of flooded timber meets dry land. And that goes, that access point that I've got right there, that also goes with my checking trail cameras. So I only checked during the season, I only checked 3 trail cameras, and they were, sorry, I'm scrolling through pictures here because I want to get back to this map. They were really these 3 right here. There was a camera right here at this stand. I had a camera attached to my box blind. And then there was a camera down here kind of in front of this stand. So those ones I could access super easily all through water and check them. And I only checked them during west winds and when there was precipitation, whether it was rain and snow and high winds and just like crappy weather. That was the only time I checked my cameras. I did have a cell camera up here, which is normally where I catch a lot of these better bucks, nighttime or daylight, entering into my property. So the one cell cam I have, I put here. But honestly, I didn't catch a single one of these deer on that cell camera, which was kind of a bummer because I didn't 100% know when they would be back there. But that also means they're filtering just a lot more through the middle of my property or toward my east edge that I can easily hunt. So definitely a positive there. And I guess really quick too, just to I guess just to say my kids' daycare was closed from November 2nd to November, what was it, the 2nd to the 6th that week, that first week in November. So I didn't get to hunt at all during that that whole Monday through Friday. And that's when just a ton of these things were back there. And the other times that I hunted, I missed them by a day or a half a day. So number 2 was cover. I mean, I did a bunch of hinge cutting. I think certainly the does were bedding in it. I don't know for sure if a buck was really calling my property home. I'm looking forward to walking through some of that stuff and looking for sign and seeing if they were. I definitely think they were calling it home for maybe a day or two a lot of times during the rut, but holding a buck all season on my property I don't think happened. But just overall, I think the amount of cover, both bedding and kind of transition type of cover, really helped just deer feel comfortable on my property. And number 3 was my food plot. So this was my best food plot by far. And it might not have been my best like looking food plot because I grew some just badass clover plots a couple of years. I mean, they looked almost perfect, but the deer just, they didn't really eat it that much, even in, the summer, early fall months. So I switched it up and I went to the Northwoods Sweet Feast Brassica Blend, and then I overseeded that with winter rye, and they just absolutely hammered it. They almost ate it too much early in the season, and a lot of my turnips and a lot of the brassicas just got pounded before they got very big. But the rye really helped supplement that, and I had deer literally from early August still all the way to now, night and day, using my food plot at a number exponentially higher than things have ever used my food plot before. So I think I finally found a seed mix that works and that deer like in my area. And the plot screen that I did was a Northwoods plot screen, and I did a crap job putting it in. I had to put it in with a rake because my rototiller the day that I hauled it back there broke. So I did not do a good job getting the seed depth that I needed to make that plot screen really work. But even what came up, it grew super tall, and it, I think, really helped. There's a few trail cam pictures. I can pull them, see if I can pull one back up really quick that I'll show you guys. The deer just wore, I mean, they beat down a trail in my food plot. Like you can see it right here, just from them moving around my fence. They really liked coming from right here, or you can't quite see it in this one, but there's another real beat down trail right along this edge of the plot screen. So something I have not seen before, and just adding a little bit of screening and a little more cover around my food plot was a big help. So I am super excited for 2021. I don't exactly know how much or what I will do. I think a lot of scouting and stuff is going to be priority number 1, and see what the deer liked and what they didn't like. I've got 2 cameras baking back in all my thick stuff that I haven't seen since August 1st. So I'm really excited to see what's on those, and I'll share those share those pictures and maybe do an update video for you guys to see kind of what those looked like. But just to wrap up, like I said, I am not by any means a habitat improvement expert. I am the guy that has just in 2020 soaked up as much information as I possibly can and self-evaluated and found a lot of gaps and a lot of things that I was doing wrong. And I went all in. And honest to God, I was super nervous because I changed my property a ton this year. And if it didn't work, I don't know. I would have been pretty defeated and pretty discouraged, but I am so happy and so glad that it did and that things really improved back here. So I just want to throw out some thank yous to Randy VanderVeen, Jake Ehlinger. I've messaged them a bunch on Facebook and stuff, and they have always been super kind, super, super helpful. I love watching videos from Steve Bartylla, from Jeff Sturgis, from Don Higgins. They put out a lot of good social media content, a lot of good YouTube videos. And then a big thank you, big thank you to Ty Miller from Small Acre Hunting. He is the one that I consulted with to do a online habitat consultation. I spend a ton of time putting pictures together, and I actually made my own plan before I received Ty's plan, and just it matching up probably like 65-70% gave me a lot of confidence in kind of where my head was at, and the other 35-40% he really highlighted some things that I didn't see, and executing his plan and just kind of having that confidence to go all in, man, was a big help. So Ty, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. 2021 habitat season is right around the corner, and I'm super excited to dive in, and I hope you guys are too. Thanks for tuning in. Remember, be a sportsman, make a sportsman.